Hello everyone and welcome to Total Quilter Monthly for May 2020. My name is Mark Garretts and I'm a National Floriani educator. And this month we're going to be talking about the newest update that just came out for Total Quilter. So first let's go over the basics of how to check what build or version you're on and then how to do the update. So first what you want to do is open up Total Quilter and get a new blank screen. Come up here to Help and click Help and come all the way down to the bottom and click About. And this will show you what build or version you're on. And I'm on build 3679, which is the latest. And I've already updated mine, so this will be the build that you're going to update to. If you're on the previous build, it probably says 3600, and if you're on a build earlier than that, well, then you should have been updating all along. So this checks to see what build you're on. If you're already on 3679, you're good to go. If you're on an earlier number than this, then you'll want to do the update. So once you've checked your number, go ahead and click OK. Come back up to Help and click right here, Check for Updates. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. When you do that, it's going to open up your default web browser, and it's going to come right to the Download Floriani Total Quilter Update screen. And you want to come down to this link right down here at the bottom. Click here to download the latest version of Total Quilter. So I'm going to go ahead and click it, and you'll see that depending on your browser, you might get a warning saying that this type of file can harm your computer. You can be sure that when you download something from Floriani that it's safe. So we're going to click Keep. And again, depending on your browser and your antivirus software, you may not get any warning at all, or you may get a similar warning. And now that you've downloaded it, you can just click it right here in the browser to go ahead and install it. Now your browser might be a little bit different. It might ask you where you want to put it. Usually it shows up in your downloads folder, but the important thing is you'll need to click it or double click it to get it to run the installer before the changes will take place. And just downloading it doesn't do anything. You've got to download and run it. So I already installed it, so I'm not going to do that. But one thing that's also important is that before you run this, you'll want to reopen up Total Quilter and close it so that the update can install and then restart Total Quilter. Okay, so that's basically how you do the update. And there's another little thing you can do to see if you're on the latest build or not. Again, right here it tells you what the latest build is, 3679. Way up here in the address bar, you'll see it says version 1.0369. So this will be the version that you're on, not the version that's down here. So if I hadn't updated yet, this would say 3600, and I would see that 3679. So I can do that instead of going to About if I want to just look up here to see the version that I'm on. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close my browser. We're going to assume that I've already done the update. And I'm going to go over now what the features are that are in this latest update. So the first thing they've added in the latest update is a brand new hoop size for those of you that own the new Solaris or Luminaire machines from either Baby Lock or Brother. And to see that new hoop size, you would come over here to your hoop selection. This would show or hide the hoop. If there's no hoop up right now, if I click it, it'll turn on the hoop. This icon down here selects the hoop, so let's go ahead and do that. In the PES, you'll see that there's this new hoop size now, 272 by 408 millimeters. And that is 10.7 by 16.06 in inches. And it's showing in inches here because I have inches selected up here. But hoops are always measured in millimeters, not in inches. So it's always important when you look at a hoop size that you actually look at the millimeters, because inches are an approximation of it. Now this is the exact number, but if you were to look at the brother a baby lock spec for this hoop, they would say 10 5/8 by 16, and it's not exactly right. It's a little bit different. But the millimeter measurement is always exact. So if I go ahead and say OK, and that will automatically turn that hoop on. So this is the new supersized jumbo hoop that's available for that machine. Now they've also since come out with a brand new hoop, and that is, instead of being basically 10 5/8 by 16, it's 10 5/8 by 10 5/8, and that came with the latest updates for those machines. That hoop's not in here, but let's explore how you could add that hoop. So let's go back to let's turn this hoop off. Let's go back to our select hoop, and right here you can see that there's a new button. We want to remember this 272 because that's what it is. It's 272 by 272. So let's click new, and we will add in the description here 272 by 272 millimeters. Okay, it's a rectangular. We can select circular, but that's not what we want. And here are our new dimensions. So down here we're going to put in 272, and we're going to also put in 272 because it's a square, and we're going to say OK. All right, so that automatically adds the word custom in here to differentiate it from the built-in ones. But now we could select that hoop. So if I say OK, now we will get that hoop that is a 272 by 272 square. So those of you that have that update to those machines, you can also add this hoop. So now if I turn the hoop off, I come back to my select a hoop, I can see that in my drop down of hoops, I have all of the standards that were here, and then down at the very bottom, I've got my new 272 by 272 millimeter custom hoop. And again, I click OK, and that turns it on. So let me turn it off, and let's go on to the next thing that they added in the update. And that is that they've updated the help files to show the keyboard shortcuts. And on our forum, we always get asked a lot, what are the keyboard shortcuts? And now in the new help file, they've listed those keyboard shortcuts. So if I come here to click help, and you'll notice that the new version says user guide here now instead of Floriani, which is nice. So now you know exactly what it is. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that to open it up. And I like to come here to my search tab, and I'm going to type in here keyboard. Okay, and I'm going to click list topics. And here are the keyboard shortcuts. Okay, so I'm going to double click that to show my keyboard shortcuts. So this shows all of the keyboard shortcuts that are available in Total Quilter. So here's a list of what they do, and here's what the keyboard keystroke shortcuts are for those keyboard shortcuts. So those of you that like to use keyboard shortcuts, now you have a nice easy way to see them. So I'm going to close the help file, and let's go on to the next update, which is an update to the notes that are in the sequence view. Now in a couple of updates ago, they added the ability to add notes into the sequence view. So if you don't remember how to do that, let's go over how to do that. So let's just add a design in here real quick. Let's pick one of our decors, or embellishments rather. I'll click these birds, and let's double click our magnifying glass to put it in the center. So here's all our birds, and this first item here, this is our artwork item. This doesn't stitch, and these are our stitches here, and they stitch. And so we might want to add a note here before this to change the color of thread. And I know the machine's going to ask you to do that, but this is just an example. So if I right click, I can say add note, I can say insert before, and here's my note. I can say remember to change thread color. Okay, and I can click OK. and that'll add that note right in here before these run stitches. So here's my note right here. Remember to change thread color. Now that's not new. The ability to add notes was always there from a couple updates ago. What is new is the way this now gets displayed in the print preview. So to show you that, let's come up here to our print preview button and click it. And that's going to go ahead and open up our print preview. So here's my first page showing the template with crosshairs. If I go to my next page, which I do by clicking this page down here, you'll see here that I get my color analysis. And right here you can see, let me click the magnifying glass to make that a little bigger. Right here's the note that now shows up in this print dialog, and if I were to go ahead and print this, this would show up on my printer. So this is a great way to add notes to yourself about what to do with this design. And this one probably doesn't make a lot of sense, but you might put in here, remember to put the batting down along with the topper or whatever else you're doing with that design. So let's go ahead and close that. So the last thing that they changed in Total Quilter was something that wasn't quite working right, and that had to do with the cut files in our AppliQuilt export section. So let's go ahead and bring up an AppliQuilt block. I'll do that by clicking on my AppliQuilt block icon. I'll just load this basic block here, and oh, that loaded it right on top of my previous design. That's okay. Let's go ahead and delete all of those things. Okay, so now I've just got that AppliQuilt block. And what was going on before is if we went up here to one of these export, like export this AppliQuilt block, these cut files down here were not correctly exported. So what we would do is we would save the WAF file, and they weren't being imported either, but now they are. So I'm going to uncheck save the WAF file because I don't need to do that now because I'm actually going to get this. If I click export, and let me change the name of this to May 2020 and click export, what will happen is you will see that we will now get the proper cut files generated, and it imports the file correctly. So here I've got my different pieces to cut. That's the yellow, this is the violet, and all that's working great now. So that is the last update that they did to Total Quilter. There's one other important thing I want to talk to you about, and that is if you also have Total Quilter and FTCU, Floriani Total Control U installed, you know with the new Fusion update that you get all of the Total Quilter controls and things inside FTCU. I'm going to go ahead and open up FTCU. I've got it down here. So here it is. I've got a blank screen. But one of the things that FTCU inherited if you had Total Quilter was Total Quilter's method of keeping the artwork around when you converted to stitches. So let's go back to Total Quilter. Let me show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to actually delete all of these things. I don't need that. I don't need this. And let me just delete this block here. I just pressed the delete key on my keyboard. So if I created an outline, so let's say I just want to do a rectangle here, and this is an artwork outline, and then I selected it and say I filled it with texture fill. So let's just pick 264 here and fill that. So what happened is that over here is my new stitch item that I created, but this original artwork that I started with, it's still here. So Total Quilter and my decorative quilter leave the artwork behind when you convert artwork into a stitch object. Total Quilter does that, but Total Control did not by default. So if you were used to working in Total Control, what happened is if I did that same thing, the artwork would disappear and I would just be left with the stitch object. But when you had the total of Total Control and Total Quilter together in the new Fusion product, that keeping the artwork behind property got inherited by Total Control. And a lot of you didn't like that in Total Control because you're used to that not happening. So now there's a way to get Total Control to stop doing that. So that is right here in your program preferences. You can access it from the little shortcut menu here or up here at the top. You can click that little gear icon and you'll notice there's a new tab now called Total Quilter. And the only thing on here is whether or not you want to keep the artwork segments in embroidery conversion. So if you have it checked, Total Control will work like Total Quilter. In other words, it'll keep the artwork segment. If you uncheck it, now Total Control will work like it used to, and it won't keep the artwork segment even if you're using something from Total Quilter inside Total Control. So if you don't want to do that, just uncheck it, click OK, and now in Total Control, it won't work like Total Quilter when it keeps the artwork. So that does it for the video for May 2020. I want to thank everybody for watching and invite you to come back next month when we'll have another Total Quilter Monthly video.